Have you ever wondered how a global brand like Nike started? One man, one crazy idea, and endless risks. Today, we're diving into Shoe Dog, the memoir of Phil Knight, the man who turned a small shoe company into one of the world's most iconic brands. Buckle up, because this is a story about ambition, failure, and sheer persistence. Early life and crazy idea. Phil Knight was just an ordinary young man, passionate about running. After college, he took a trip around the world. On that journey, he noticed Japanese running shoes, lightweight, affordable, and high quality. He thought, why can't we sell these in America? Back home, he borrowed $50 from his father and started what he called Blue Ribbon Sports. Imagine that, $50. That's how it took to begin what would eventually become Nike. But the road ahead was far from smooth. Phil partnered with a Japanese shoe company called Onitsuka. They trusted him to distribute their shoes in the US, but soon tensions rose, and Phil realized he needed to go bigger or fail. The struggle and risk. Here's where things get real. Phil Knight didn't have a stable salary. His company didn't have a steady profit. He borrowed money constantly, sometimes from his father, sometimes from banks, and occasionally even using personal credit. In the early 1960s, he and his small team would travel across the country, selling shoes from the trunks of their cars. Yes, trunks. Rain, snow, long drives, it was exhausting. But Phil believed in one thing: the shoes could change the way Americans ran. At one point, Blue Ribbon Sports was on the verge of bankruptcy. They were being squeezed by Onitsuka, who wanted to cut them out. Phil had to make a bold decision: either give up everything or break off and create their own brand. You can probably guess what he did. Birth of Nike. In 1971, Phil and a small team created a brand that would change the world: Nike. The name came from the Greek goddess of victory. The now famous swoosh logo was designed by a young graphic design student for just $35. Can you imagine that? $35 for one of the most recognizable logos in history. But creating a brand wasn't enough. They had to compete with giants like Adidas and Puma. Phil took huge personal risks, mortgaging his house and borrowing tens of thousands of dollars. He even delayed his own salary for months to keep the company alive. Innovation and marketing. What set Nike apart wasn't just shoes, it was vision. Phil understood runners because he was a runner. He focused on lightweight, performance-enhancing designs. And here's the genius part: he used storytelling to sell shoes. They sponsored young athletes, organized races, and even innovated new technology for running shoes like the waffle sole. Every small improvement built credibility. Every marketing move made people feel that Nike was more than a shoe, it was a lifestyle. Team and culture. Nike wasn't built by Phil Knight alone. It was built by a passionate, scrappy team that shared his obsession. People like Bill Bowerman, Phil's former coach, who experimented with new soles in his garage, or Jeff Johnson, the first employee, who managed the business while Phil traveled constantly. Phil often writes about the chaos, unpaid bills, endless trips, and the constant threat of failure. But he also writes about loyalty, trust, and the joy of seeing a small team accomplish something impossible. This culture of risk-taking, innovation, and relentless focus became the backbone of Nike. Lessons and takeaways. So what can we learn from Shoe Dog? Take risks. Phil mortgaged everything for his vision. Persistence matters. Failure was constant, but quitting wasn't an option. Build the right team. Surround yourself with people who believe in the mission. Innovation is everything. Nike succeeded by improving every detail, even the sole of the shoe. Tell a story. Products are not just products, they're symbols of passion, effort, and identity. From a $50 idea to a billion-dollar empire, Shoe Dog is the ultimate story of courage, vision, and relentless drive. If you're dreaming big, take a page from Phil Knight's book. Sometimes the biggest risks lead to the biggest victories. If you enjoyed this summary, hit like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments which part of Phil Knight's journey inspires you the most.